PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, the Star Wars podcast, featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Holy Snokes here on the PLD Projects Network. I am your host, PLD. With me, as always, my sidekick, the man with the hair, the man with the voice. If you listen to his music lately, I don't know how you do that and still able to talk. But Matty Gunner, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing good. I get asked this question a lot. How do you do this with your voice? You go on YouTube, you see all these people are like, how to scream, how to fry scream. I literally just yell. That's it. Like I can show you how I do it right now. So imagine you're annoyed at something and just go, so do it. Okay. Now imagine you're like really annoyed and you put some like real rasp to it. So you're like, and then you just go, there you go. You did it. That's how I do it.
Well, whatever you do, it works. All I know is when I watch your videos, my throat hurts, but that's all right. So anyway, here we are. We are getting closer and closer to Skeleton Crew. We have a couple of episodes left. Actually, only 2 episodes of this show, including this one, because we are taking the Thanksgiving week off. Too much going on, too much life, too much real family stuff, et cetera, to get an episode in. But then Skeleton Crew will be upon us. And you had this great idea to kind of pitch like the next 2 weeks. Let's look at some influences of Skeleton Crew. Because no show, I don't think any show in Star Wars history, I could be wrong, but I don't think any show in Star Wars history has been so open about this is what this is. This is Amblin movies, Goonies in space. This is pirates and everything else. So we decided to take 2 movies that have been mentioned. Obviously, Goonies in Space is the biggest one. We'll cover Goonies today. And then next week, we'll cover Hook because, A, it's Steven Spielberg, Amblin, and it's about pirates, which Skeleton Crew is full of. So it made sense to do those 2 movies. So this week, we are doing the Goonies, and it'll give me a chance. I mean, you tell me to watch the Goonies for a podcast. I'm like, well, twist my arm. I get to watch the Goonies again. It's one of my favorite childhoods.
So we can be expecting 2 mediocre white dudes on film on the Goonies in 2025.
You never know. That could absolutely happen. We could. You never know. We've always thought about doing some one-offs here and there, maybe some connected
or an Amblin series,
like an Amblin type series. That might be a great one to do. Absolutely.
Or maybe we could do a show where you put 2 movies up against each. You know what? I'm giving too much away.
Maybe at some point, maybe we could do that potentially.
Well, that'd be a great kind of a show.
That would be a great kind of show. I wonder if anybody's ever thought of doing that kind of show before. Well, something to ponder, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to cover Skeleton Crew influences of Goonies this week, of course, like I said. But first off, we're going to do some news and everything else. But if you're here, like and subscribe. Leave a 5-star review, get us comments, let's talk to us, help us fight the almighty algorithm. I have Patreon if you want to help out even further, patreon.com/PLD Projects. I have a great crew there, Austin Goodell, Brandon Buckingham, great crew, great Facebook group. I do try to put up some early footage, early episodes of all podcasts on the PLD Projects Network. It's a lot of fun, but I understand times are tough. You can't do it.
If you want to see me rage at technology, join the Patreon.
That is true. I do put up those bloopers as soon whenever I can because it's just happened quite a bit, and Matty gets a little angry at times. But we're okay with that. We're okay with that here. He channels his anger towards good sometimes, at least with us. I don't know about real life, but with us at least. All right, let's get into our news of the day, or a bunch of little news tidbits that I gleaned from StarWarsNewsNet.com, which I wish they'd paid me because I plug them all the time.
I wish they paid you.
Because I'd
get kicked back.
That's true. They do a great job of collating the sources and collating the ideas. Like usually it's your fact, fiction, speculation. They do a pretty good job of that. Although that being said, I actually went to the source article this time, so I wanted to read the exact article because it raised a little bit of hackles in the community, a little conversation to be had. let's talk about it. Basically, Hollywood Reporter gave a article kind of in tangent with the announcement of the leak, I should say. I hate using that word announcement because it was never announced, but the leak of the Simon Kinberg trilogy developing, et cetera, et cetera. And
which she confirmed on Instagram, by the way.
Oh, did she? I actually missed that. These really said that.
Simon Kinberg, he confirmed it on Instagram. Yeah, shout out to Star Wars Sessions. They're the ones that pointed it out to me. That Simon Kinberg on his Instagram confirmed that he's going to be working on the next Star Wars movie.
Well, okay. Well, then I guess that's even a little more, but still nowhere from Lucasfilm, huh?
No.
That's interesting how they did that.
Technically part of Lucasfilm.
What was that?
Is he employed by Lucasfilm?
Well, if he's developing, but not like that's like saying Sean Levy is employed by Lucasfilm.
Okay.
I mean, Simon Kinberg has worked with them before. He has worked with them, co-created, like I said, co-created Rebels, and was working with them on The Force Awakens at some point, some behind-the-scenes stuff. But he's not officially a part of Lucasfilm per se. So that would be a different thing to have the studio come out and say, like, Kathleen Kennedy announces this, or Lucasfilm. It's not on StarWars.com. That's what I mean. If it's not on StarWars.com, it's not an officially announced thing. Not saying that Simon Kinberg's a liar.
There's nothing to really announce, though, is there? It's the guy's just working on something,
right?
So why is there to really announce?
Well, true, but exactly. But at this point, when it's leaked to the trades, usually a studio will confirm or deny. Like they'll come and go, yeah, you know what? We're in talks with Simon Kinberg. He is developing something. Let's see how it works. But Lucasfilm's staying quiet, and that's okay too. I think it's just interesting. It's interesting to me. Like they tend not to confirm anything, and I think they're gun shy. Probably.
Maybe they just stop trying. Maybe they should stop bothering.
Maybe they're just going to wait until they announce like the actual, like they have the movie release date. Like they had Mando and Grogu, bam, they're going to talk about that because that's got an official release date. Hell, that's almost done filming, but we'll talk about that too. So they with the news of going back to this article, with this news of Simon Kinberg being leaked that he was developing something, they also mentioned a lot about Rey. And basically, Hollywood Reporter is saying that Rey is going to be the future of the franchise on the big screen. It opens the article saying, forget the Death Star, the most coveted weapon in the Star Wars movie arsenal is the character of Rey Skywalker. Now, I know some people took a little, not offense is the wrong word, but not liking the word weapon.
I see what I get. I'm not 100% there, but I see, like, Hollywood Reporter knew what they were doing with that.
Explain it, because I struggled with, like, I saw people getting people I know and like, and I'm like, oh, I don't understand, because to me, I said, okay, it's just kind of a phrase because that's the biggest one they're gonna go to.
Yeah, there is the whole thing of like Rey is our secret weapon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to imagine that the grifters are gonna see that and be like, "Oh, Rey is a weapon. Rey is the weapon against Star Wars. Rey is the weapon against da 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 da." Like taken out of context, like that's very easy for the Red Eyes channels to be like, oh, Rey is the future. She's the weapon against the woke, blah, 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 the anti-woke, blah, 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 all that shit. But
okay.
To me, it's just like, if you're on a sports team and you have, it's, as the great Ken Knapsack says, it's the sports radification of art and culture of like when you have like Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers. I'm not a baseball guy, but it's been all over. Sorry, I know Yankees. I know you're a Red Sox guy, but I know if like Yankees are like the next adjacent.
Regardless, that's all right.
He's the secret weapon, right? Michael Jordan from watching the movie that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon did. He's the secret weapon. So they're basically saying, "Oh, Rey's our secret weapon. Rey is what's gonna make us the money," which I respectfully disagree.
Right.
I think Mando and Grogu is your secret weapon.
Potentially. I will say,
you keep bringing Grogu back all the time, and he's going to win all the time.
You might not be wrong. That's potentially, and that is mentioned in the article at one point. I will say, the idea that Rey is the weapon is an interesting one because of it. She is just like her or not, and I enjoy the character. I think she's I'm happy to see movies with her. And Daisy Ridley is delightful, and I loved seeing her coming back to home, so to speak, really back to the beginning for her. But her films were divisive at times and everything else, much like everything in Star Wars at this point. But she was definitely a focal point of some of the disgruntlement of the main character, etc. So it's interesting that they're going to double down and go for that. And I don't necessarily dislike that idea. I think it's a cool idea. But it's definitely a bold choice, is all I'm saying with that. For sure.
Yeah. The thing that you and I gotta remember when we speak about this is, and this is gonna really suck to say, this is gonna hurt my soul to say. By the time that this Rey movie comes out, right? My young niece, is going to be nearly 20, pushing 20.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. That's terrifying. Like those kids that grew up with the sequel trilogy that weren't jaded by all the grifters and all of the backlash and everything, like my generation were for the prequels, they are going to be the ones pushing for like Rey to be the secret weapon, not us. Absolutely. And that's terrifying for me to say that like by the time this movie comes out, my niece is probably going to be 17, 18.
Right.
But like,
yeah, no,
them's the breaks. This is
I agree. I mean, at this point, Force Awakens 2015. That's almost 10 years old. Force Awakens is almost 10 years old. That's shocking.
I don't like it, Paul.
I don't either. I don't like it at all. I'm an older man. I'm an old man at this point. But I will say, what's interesting about that, and I think I fight back a little bit at what you say at some degree, in that it feels like nostalgia. And this is just a Star Wars thing. This is kind of a film and pop culture thing. Nostalgia seems to be earlier and earlier. Like it used to be like 30 years, and then you get nostalgia, and then somebody would come back strong. Then it's like 20 years. Now it's like it's almost like we're not waiting a long time enough to get nostalgia. It's like for me, like Force Awakens, even though it's 10 years, it still feels like it was just yesterday. To agree, I'm kind of like, oh, so we're already getting nostalgic about Rey at this point. Is that what we're doing here? I don't know.
Yeah,
but it feels kind of strange to me that it kind of like the diminishing time frame of nostalgia.
You're right. You are 100% right, and it's because nostalgia sells, and they know nostalgia sells. So that, and I saw an article this week. I think like it was on Culture Crave or something. Put it out. They said that they had a sources say I made it the fuck up. That someone in Lucasfilm was saying that the nostalgia well is running dry.
That's actually. It's actually in this article.
Is it in this article?
Yeah, it's all.
Also, say I made it the fuck up. No one in Lucasfilm would come. Would.
I don't know, man. I gotta say, like, I get, like, I appreciate
not out loud
vociferously. No, but that's what it is. That's why it's a source. That's why somebody who's saying, like, piling, going, maybe there's somebody in there. Might be somebody in there, kind of like, it seems like what we're doing, but I don't know what we're doing, because it seems like this is. I mean, I'll get to the exact quote when I get there in the article, but because I got to find it in the article now. But going back to the, I agree that it is a little bit of a strange thing. But either way, it's weird because we have this idea that Rey has a movie coming out supposedly with Charmin Obi-Wan. That's still, as far as we know, in development. We do know that she is being kind of teed to be in this Simon Kinberg trilogy, potentially. Even though there is the, is it 10, 11, and 12? Is it not 10, 11, and 12? I think it's a combination. I think it's going to be 10, 11, and 12 without being 10, 11, and 12. Because, quite frankly, you got to put the episode 10, 11, 12 because that's the moneymaker for you. That's what Disney's thinking at this point. You got to have episode 10 because that's going to sell more than a Star Wars story is. So you got to have episode 10 in there. Even if the idea is not to necessarily continue the Skywalker saga, it might even be like basically a Star Wars Mark II episode 1. It might as well be that, I think, in a way. But they're not going to, but they want to connect it to.
What if they called it Star Wars Episode 1? Because it's a whole new story.
Well, they'd have to say something like, have you Star Wars, a new story, episode 1, like Star Wars,
a new hope.
Star Wars, the next generation.
Star Wars Next Generation. That's perfect. I've never, other than the new Star Trek movies, I've never watched Star Trek.
Oh wow!
Is Next Generation where where you would say I should jump in?
As far as the series go, yeah. I mean the older original. I had never even seen the older series, like all of the older series. I watched most episodes. I never sat down and watched it all the way through. I'm actually behind Star Trek. I've watched all the movies from the original cast and the Generation and the J.J. Abrams reboot. All those I've watched. The series, I really only watched through Star Trek: The Next Generation. I started Deep Space Nine. I'm enjoying it, but it's kind of like Well, as I get time. So I'm in like season 2 somewhere, and I kind of watch it for a couple episodes, and I might hold off for a month or two before I watch it again, kind of thing. Next Generation is probably the most lauded of the series.
Is that the one with Sir Patrick Stewart?
Yes, that's the one. Patrick Stewart, yes, for sure. Probably the most lauded. The original series has ups and downs. It's definitely of its times from the 60s and early 70s. Like it's got that those kind of not dated, but it's not quite as shiny as like Next Generation gets to be. But they're all very good. I do like that. I love the original cast. The original cast movies, I think, are probably my favorite, to be honest. Some of them, like Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, Wrath of Khan, those are all really Undiscovered Country. The Even movies, basically the Even movies, are the ones you want to watch in the Star Trek saga. The Next Generation movies have their time too. So there's a lot of good stuff in there for sure. But going back to this article, either way, so Ray's doing a lot. They're doing a lot with Ray, and then there's also the rumor. And I have this in later news bit, but I'm going to say it here. Ray's also rumors to be part of Sean Levy's movie potentially. That's the most unclear rumor. That's the source is kind of like, definitely Charbonnet Chamoy, Kinberg. If there's a 10, 11, 12, Ray's got to be involved somehow. But the Sean Levy one was the kind of most out there, but still was at least put out there. And it kind of makes this story makes sense if that's the case. They're basically putting Ray everywhere. To quote the article, though, while insiders dispute the notion that there's a battle for Ray, there definitely is internal deliberation within Lucasfilm as to what to do with the heir to Skywalker next. Quote, she's the most valuable cinematic asset, in some ways maybe the only one Star Wars has right now, one source tells THR. Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian and Yoda-like Grogu are Disney Plus creations and will have their big screen power tested with a feature directed by Jon Favreau releasing in 2026. And I see your face, but I
was gonna say you said that, and you said that Disney Plus things, and I was like, oh, okay, because like as soon as when you started that, I was like, wait, hold on a minute.
It does. I gotta say, like, I know how confident you are in them, and I appreciate that confidence. And I'm not confident, but I see their point. Like, Mando and Grogu are great on Disney Plus, which you can get with your Disney Plus thing or whatever. As far as moviegoers go, not all the moviegoers have watched Mandalorian, so it is kind of a test to see. Like, for Star Wars fans, they're probably the big. They're definitely absolutely the biggest thing after Ray as far as new Disney goes. They're definitely at least, if not the number one, then they are number two. That's for sure. But does the general audience, the general movie-going audience, is that truly a weapon? Especially after Mandalorian season 3 was a little divisive at this point. So if you're losing a little bit of audience there, how does the big audience? Now I know Grogu's everywhere. They do have a lot of Grogu stuff, so that will carry them a while. That will carry them a long way. But until it happens, it doesn't happen. You can't say it's like that speaking of baseball, AAA prospect, going to be a Hall of Famer and gets a shot at the big league and then strikes out. Oh, okay. Well, maybe not. We don't know until they actually face big league pitching and face the crowds in there. I'll just say it's up in the air. So I understand the concept that at this point, with all the older characters pretty much done. Luke's obviously done. Han's dead. Leia's dead. Luke's dead, except for Force Ghosts and things. You could go back and still do some legacy stories with Obi-Wan. You could still do some legacy characters. Ahsoka's still around. Ahsoka's probably up there, but that's, again, more of a TV thing. There's a lot of different possibilities out there. So having Rey being deemed the one for now, it does make a certain amount of sense. For everything that you said and for everything that is just the state of the world, of the state of the Star Wars galaxy right now. But
that little green bastard is going to be printing them so much money when that movie comes out.
I hope you're right. I really do. I hope you're right. I really hope you're right.
It's going to be all the Grogu merch. Box office will be what the box office is. But everyone is going to be buying. Like, think of how many new costumes Grogu is going to have. Like, how many new Grogu plushies are going to come out? How many new Grogu toys are going to come out? How many new Grogu t-shirts are going to come out? He's hit the big time now, so he's going to be everywhere.
Okay, I hope you're right. I do. Yeah. Right.
And Pedro's about to become the most the biggest actor of our time, of this generation, for damn sure.
I think he pretty much already is. He's just in everything at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised there. To further up the quote, I want to continue. It says, according to sources, Ray is set to play a role in several movies that are being developed, although which ones remain unclear. Star Wars movie development has been under scrutiny for several years. Lucasfilm head Kathleen Kennedy taking fire for not developing meaningful characters beyond those first created by Lucas prior to the sale of Disney in 2012. The franchise looks forward in its canon timeline. All his beloved characters, Luke, Leia, Vader, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Han, are dead or have their storylines wrapped in prequels or spin-offs. Rey, created in the post-Lucas era, is arguably the only entity with currency on the big screen now. The closet is a little bare, says another source. So, while Kinberg hiring lays bare that his development of movies it remains its own unique ecosystem in Hollywood, there are numerous Star Wars movies being developed that overlap characters or timelines. They are not related, but whatever one were to come out first could, in the domino effect, impact the ones after it. James Mangold, Dawn of the Jedi might be an exception because it's so long before everything else going on. Some Lucasfilm directors are aware of what others are working on, while others are not. For instance, Taika Waititi is working on a Star Wars movie. Sean Levy has a feature project in the works, and Donald Glover's Lando idea has moved over from development from the TV to the film side of Lucasfilm. A Rogue Squadron project is also still in development as a feature. Interesting. It's a different way of development, says another insider familiar with the company's way of working. There's so much parallel work going on. And it continued on and said, Star Wars at its core has always been, unlike Marvel or DC, with decades of stories propelling them forward, or even Harry Potter with seven fleshed out books. Star Wars at its core has been the original George Lucas movies. Nothing has been codified or been made more canonical in modern terms than those three movies. The filmmakers and executives, the first trilogy is the Old Testament. And according to the source, you're being asked to create the New Testament, and no one can agree on anything. And there's a lot of second guessing about meanings. And here's your quote you were talking about earlier. Another source familiar with the process is more business-minded, noting, Star Wars is a nostalgia-based enterprise, and they are running out of ways to create nostalgia. Television side doesn't appear to have these problems, as several insiders know the ARM has a lot more freedom to expand Lucas's universe, which is why there's been a varied slate that runs the gamut, for better or worse in the eyes of fan. From Andor Season 2 arriving next April to Acolyte, as well as a corner for Ahsoka creator Dave Filoni, the chief creative officer at Lucasfilm. So basically, at the end, it says, to make a standalone movies or continuing the Skywalker saga in any form is a fundamental question the company faces as it tries to move forward. So with all that being said, I think what the article is gleaming, there's some positives and negatives. And I'm going to put forth a little bit of a negative, and I try not to be negative on the podcast, as you know. I try to stay positive on everything. It does feel like, you see my dog's yelling at me for being negative. As he does. But it seems like this feels a little desperate. It feels a little Hail Mary-ish. It feels like Disney and Bob Iger perhaps are pushing on Lucasfilm, and maybe rightfully so, because Lucasfilm has not been able to develop a movie since 2019. It's been almost, let's say, 8 years or so, 7 or 8 years since we had a Star Wars movie in the theater. And that's $1 billion franchise. Movies are making $1 billion except for Solo. It seems like this is a property that should have movies in the theaters at least once every 3 years, at the very least, something to that effect. You know what I mean? And here we are. We have all stuff announced, all stuff talked, not announced, all stuff leaked, all stuff. And here it is. We have one movie that's definitively happening. Everything else is kind of like, yeah, we're doing this until we're not. And it just seems like this seems like a scrambling move. Let's get Kinberg. He's a guy I know can get stuff done. Creatively, I don't know. It's hit or miss. It seems like it's going more towards the business side than the creative side. Let's get somebody who can finish the job, get something done. We need something to bank on. What's more bankable than episode 10, 11, and 12? Nothing is more bankable than 10, 11, or 12 at this point, because that will get casual fans to go, oh, I'm not going to see Solo, a Star Wars story. Or Rogue One, okay, yeah, I can see that. Maybe The Mandalorian Grogu for Disney Plus, okay. Star Wars Episode 10. Oh, sign me up for that. That I got to check out. That's the continuation. That's what I need to see. And I don't necessarily dislike it. I love the idea of Rey in more movies. No doubt I love the idea of Rey in more movies. But what is that telling you as far as that goes? It says we're a little desperate and we're pulling the safe measure. Simon Kinberg is the safe measure. And it seems like that's Star Wars' biggest problem is A, they're too precious about material at times, and B, they're going safe. They're too precious in terms of, you've heard stories all along the way of creators running up against the regime who have wanted, like, trying to make it be Star Wars-y enough. And they're taking things out of the creators' hands and kind of holding them back a little bit. That's what you get when you get the Lord Miller becomes the safer choice in Ron Howard and Solo. Again, I love Solo. Not a negative thing on Solo at all. I think Solo's a great movie. I think it'd be fun. But at that point, it's like, well, what's going on here? Why do we feel so precious about the material? Are you scared to make that choice? I think you need some balls. I think we need some balls at Lucasfilm to go give a director, a creator, open source. Say, as long as like it connects canon-wise, it isn't like completely going against what George Lucas wanted, then let them have their chance to go out there. Instead, we're going with Simon Kimmer. Okay, we know he can get it done. He knows Star Wars very well. He knows the universe very well. We can let him do his thing. Am I wrong? Or what are your thoughts on it?
I agree with some of what you're saying.
Okay.
Let's start at your most recent point and I'll work our way back.
Okay.
In regards to, do I agree with what they're doing? No. In regards to what taking it out of the reins of the creator's hands, they gave a creator pretty much free, not overall free reign, but as long as it connected, tell your story. And the Acolyte didn't get renewed.
It's true. It's true.
And that is solely based off of the reaction. It didn't perform as well, possibly for all manner of reasons. I don't work at Lucasfilm. I'm not going to pretend to know the definitive reason as to why they didn't pull the trigger. It's done. It's in the past. The reason they do it is the reason that we have spoken about a million and bajillion times. They need to appease shareholders. This is where you and I are aligned. If this is completely a business decision, they need something in the theaters. They need a recognizable name. They need someone who is familiar with the product. Someone that we can. If I'm Bob Iger and I'm in a meeting with the shareholders, I'm going to them and I'm saying, "You guys ever watch Twilight, The Apprentice, Rebels? We got the guy who developed that. He's going to be doing episodes 10, 11, and 12. What do you guys think of that?" If I'm shareholders and I don't give a shit about the product, I don't give a shit about all I want is signs. I see 1 + 1 makes a fuckload of money. So you and I are aligned in that.
Right.
And it does suck because this is not just me being an Acolyte fan. They mentioned the Taika project in that. For all we know, that's not happening because it's been even reported as such. Of like Taika's project is shelved. We don't know when it's going to be happening with it. I want to make a prediction here. I don't do predictions very often on this show. They are going to get to a point where they turn to Ewan McGregor and say, "Hey, you wanted a second season? How about your own movie? We offered it to you before. Would you want to do it now? Do you want to bail us out now?" And I feel like I'm worried for James Mangold's movie, the Dawn of the Jedi movie. I'm worried for it because I watched Gladiator recently for reasons. If that movie turns out to be like a Ben-Hur, like an epic, like Gladiator, Ben-Hur kind of an epic, you think people are gonna like come out in droves to see that? We will, because we not only are we Star Wars fans, we appreciate good cinema. So if you tell me that James Mangold's gonna make a Ben-Hur type movie, put it in Star Wars, hell yeah. But to your point about the average moviegoer, are they gonna bank on? Are they gonna want to leave the house to go and pay for that? Are they gonna wait till it shows up on Disney Plus a year after it releases?
Right.
To which point they'll turn to Ewan McGregor and say, "Hey, do you want to jump back in the saddle? You want to wear the Clone Wars armor, right? How about you do it in a movie? How about we roll Hayden out again? Because we know
nostalgia sells."
Exactly.
I know. I don't disagree. I think everything you've said is right. I am slightly concerned about Mangold's movie as well, in terms of because it is exactly anti everything we've just talked about. It is not nostalgic at all. It has nothing to do with anything except for it has Jedi in it. probably has a lightsaber in it. I assume it has a lightsaber in it. But no characters. No characters that we know of. There's no, I mean, not even Yoda is old enough for that. Like Yoda, they can, I could see him stretching out Yoda's age. Go, oh, we could need somebody. Now he can
I could see Yoda being a twinkle in his daddy's eye.
Right. I could see that. Maybe Yoda's great grandfather or something. Give me something like a connection like that. I mean, you could throw Hu Yang in there. That's about it. But that I don't think that really.
That's the connectivity is we bring in Hu Yang.
But I don't think that's going to flip the needle too much. For example, but so I do worry about that because I feel like the Mangold thing was announced, and it was announced back in last celebration, I believe it was, and it was exciting at the time. But this was pre-indie. Dial of Destiny. I love Dial of Destiny. It was it bombed. It bombed hard. And we know what happened when Colin Trevorrow bombed. You know, all of a sudden did not have episode 9 anymore. Lucasfilm tends to be reactive like that. Mangold, they really liked working with. So that has a bonus for him that way. But you have that, and we have this turn in ideas. Like the ideas like we're going more nostalgia, we got to go more bankable. You know, look at that project. You go, is this bankable? I don't know. Maybe they shift. Maybe they still do it. Maybe it becomes a Disney Plus movie because that's always something. I don't want it to, but that is something that they have not tapped into yet, and I think they should tap into it. We should have some Disney Plus ones, some lower budget kind of streaming only movies for Star Wars.
Mando and Grogu would be a perfect one, I think.
I think they would too, but Mando and Grogu is, like you said, the second most possible bankable thing. So that's the one they're going to put in the big theater. Dawn of the Jedi, that's perfectly a streamable movie as far as that goes.
Put that on National Geographic.
Exactly. That's why. But it is, so it is kind of a interesting angle to go for. I like some of it, but I do get scared about some of it in terms of I want to see something happen. I mean, I do think that I think Kennedy's on her way out. I do think she wants a win.
She's been there long enough.
Absolutely. And I think she wants to set forward things. I think she wants the win of Mando Grogu, which is probably the best possible. I mean, you have, again, bankable-ish characters return to theater for the first time since 2019. That's nostalgia enough that people come back. That'll be probably a win for her. And then he sets up the future with Kinberg and everything else. You can go, okay, look, I got to win. I'm setting this up. I can go out into the future and I can go out to the sunset. And maybe that's the best thing for him. Then you have to look at the rest of Lucasfilm. I kind of feel like Lucasfilm's team could use a shaking up in a way. I love Dave Filoni. I don't know if Dave Filoni is. I don't know if this job might be too big for Dave Filoni. I think he is so.
Do you think he knows that?
I wonder if he knows that. I wonder if he kind of because he feels like he is grasping a little bit. I think he was perfect in charge of animation. I think he's perfect to be consultants on things and everything else, but chief creative officer might be hard for him. Yeah, absolutely. You want to talk to Dave and go, this is what I think George would want, everything else, but not to let him have necessarily veto power, not to let him necessarily have whatever. Because, I mean, going behind the scenes, again, these are all rumors and speculation and people talking about things. Rumor has it, and again, I'm putting that out there, rumor has it, that Filoni was not a big fan of Andor. And Filoni is one of the big reasons why Andor, he isn't. Well, that's the rumor. That's never been officially. It's not like he's come out and said, "Oh, I hate Andor." He always says positive things, but what is he going to do?
But enough people have said it that are reputable that it's yeah.
I'm just putting it out there that this isn't a documented thing.
You know,
stuff. But
maybe Tony Gilroy is the one that we should be just giving everything to because he's he's the unicorn. That for some reason Lucasfilm are just do whatever you want, Tony.
Well, and I'll get back to the second. I will say that Dave Filoni doesn't like it, and he's the reason why supposedly Andor went from 5 seasons to 2. That's one of the main reasons that happened. He was like, Andor was going to be 5, and they're I think we're good with 2.
I'm not mad at that though, because when you hear Diego talking about how these 2 seasons have been the last 10 years of his life, I'm like, all right, bro, I get it.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Tony Gilroy, and he kind of jokingly said that. I don't know if
I'm serious.
I wouldn't want Tony Gilroy in charge of everything, but I do like the idea that he is out there. He is the anti-acolyte because basically they have given Tony Gilroy pretty much free reign overall, especially considering how that is even more connected than the acolyte is. Because that's actually connected to a Star Wars movie. It has characters in it from Star Wars, overall, the Star Wars, the connected characters or whatever. But the one knock on Andor, which is the knock on Andor that has had, is that it is probably the least Star Warsy show out there. Yes, there's a lot of Star Wars in it. The politics of Star Wars is definitively there. There is some definitely Star Wars connections, absolutely. But it doesn't have quite the feel that even like Rogue One had. Rogue One had a lot more of it. This is very much a deep, dark, dire story, like thriller story and everything else. That's not really like Star Wars because Tony Gilroy's not a Star Wars fan. He's not that he doesn't like Star Wars, but that's not his bread and butter. He's telling his story just set in the Star Wars universe, and it's been overly loved by a lot of people. So that's a win, and that's what Lucasfilm should look to and go, okay, who else can we get like a Gilroy to do this? Now, as far as putting Gilroy in charge overall, I'd be a little wary of something like that because I think there should be a balance between the Filoni and the Gilroy. Someone who maybe isn't as precious about it, but is a fan. I mean, maybe Simon Kinberg is that kind of guy, although he doesn't have the track record I would want for somebody.
Je ne sais quoi.
Exactly, there's something missing there for me. But that kind of guy who had definitely a fandom, he definitely has his foot in the fandom, but yet he has more business acumen and has done other stuff and can kind of bring in more influences. I think Lucasfilm and Filoni might be a little too. I can't think of that word, but all inside themselves in a way. So isolated in a way to a degree.
Give it to Kojima. He's been dying to do it.
Give the whole thing to Kojima.
Give the whole thing to Kojima. We'd have like 14-hour-long movies. We'd never complain about episode length or movie length ever again because the man doesn't know how to edit.
That's fair. And that's true things. I can't tell you who. Like people have asked me, but like behind the scenes, like, well, who would you want in charge? And I'm like, I don't know. Who I want in charge. I mean, would Favreau take it? I don't know. I think he might be a little bit.
Oh, I think he would.
I think he would. I don't know if he would.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would.
The man gave us Iron Man. He gave us Iron Man. If there is anyone that could, like, if we're talking about reshuffle the deck, like reset everything. If you give me my choice of anyone, it's Favreau. To me, he's the pick because he's the one that started the MCU without knowing what he was about to create.
So is it lucky a little bit? Is he a little lucky? Can that luck strike twice? I'm not saying him. Sorry. Oh, he can do it. I'm sorry. I know Jon Favreau's a great filmmaker. I think he's a fun filmmaker. I love him as a filmmaker. But I'm saying as like an architect for a project. Like I don't know if he's done that or the architect of that. And he's done the Mandoverse kind of, but that's been a little hit or miss. Mando season 1 and 2 ultimately completely loved. Season 3, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka.
That's when he's had people at Lucasfilm being like, John, you have to do it. You can do what you want, but you have to do it this way. If they just give us Jon Favreau being Jon Favreau, let Jon Favreau do what Jon Favreau does, I think he could. Yeah, I think he could.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying he can't.
I know you're not.
I
think you believe he could as well. You're just like not hesitant, but you're like.
I'm not 100% sold. I mean, overall, like if I had a bet, he probably could. I'm just not like, that's all right. Because I mean, like, there's only been one Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige has been like done Marvel in the MCU, and that's been probably the biggest success story overall, even with their recent stumbles. And there have been a lot of recent stumbles. It's hard. That's a hard thing to tap to be able to do that successfully. There's only ever been one. DC still hasn't gotten it right, although they seem to at least be moving in the right direction with James Gunn potentially, but nothing's really come out for James Gunn, honestly, so it's hard to tell at this point. It just seems like there's a lot of time to go and a lot of things to do. I do think a reshuffling of things might be good. It might be just good to get somebody in there, like just somebody different, like a change of scenery sort of thing. Sometimes that enough can shake up a room. Somebody who has a much more of an idea of like, okay, we've been doing this. I want to try this and commit to it and go full in. Which is the one reason also I'm not sure. I think it's one of the reasons I wouldn't want Favreau. Maybe if like I had my choice because like he is in there already. I almost want to get somebody who's not in there to kind of step in and go, okay, let's try.
I have someone who was supposed to be in there.
Okay.
Guillermo del Toro.
That'd be an interesting take for sure. I think he might be a little too quirky for me to as a whole. Give him a movie or a show. Absolutely, his Jabba the
Maybe
Hutt
that's
show.
what we need to get back to. You say like Andor being not Star Wars enough because it's missing the pulp and it's missing that. Maybe he's the one to bring that back.
I don't know if I'd support that entirely, but I would love to see a Del Toro show or movie. His Jabba the Hutt thing would have been awesome, I think. And I think something like that would have been phenomenal to watch. I would love to see him get something creatively. I'm not sure he can do a full-on. The difference between being a great filmmaker and being a great like studio head of sorts, and that's what I'm interested in seeing who can do that. I don't know. I don't have the answer for you. I think it's an interesting idea. I think it's definitely an interesting idea. I don't even know if I'd want Feige at this point because I think there was talk at one point that Feige was going to jump ship and go over because he loves Star Wars. He was going to do a Star Wars film at one point. That the X-Men have come in, and that's his favorite toy. So now he has the X-Men, so he's not going to leave anywhere for a while. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he'd want to do another like a whole start from scratch again for him. I mean, you're not starting from scratch with Star Wars or Lucasfilm, obviously, but as far as like reshuffling things, it's kind of an interesting idea. So Favreau would probably be the one like out there right now. Although if you gave me another name that was outside of the current regime, I would love to see something like that be tried. But who knows? I mean, hell, some people say maybe Disney will sell Lucasfilm to Apple or something like that. Apple's been nuts.
Oh God, no! Don't.
Hey, you know what? I have not seen a bad Apple TV show. Not seen one. Some of the greatest shows I've watched: Ted Lasso, Severance, Shrinking, Deliverance. There is so like I have never seen a really bad production on Apple. I don't know if I'd be against it.
I would solely because it's Apple. I say that with an iPhone and a Mac, literally turned right on. But like,
all right, well, you're gonna have to bite your. I think unfortunately, a big company's gonna get it. What big company is out there that's good enough to get it for you?
The biggest companies already got it.
Right, but I'm saying let's put it forward. They're leaving Disney. They're selling Lucasfilm.
Give it HBO.
Give it to Warner and Zaslav.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Have you watched Penguin?
Yes, I love the Penguin. I've also seen them write off a half the
Give it to James Gunn.
DC, no, that's DC Studios. Warner, DC, same thing. No, Apple over HBO. Apple over HBO.
Do you know who you should do? Give it to some like random Korean filmmaker, because all the best shit right now is coming out of like these foreign language films.
No, again, a film, a show, absolutely, but not control. Not the keys to the kingdom.
Track record speech for anyway. We're waffling now. We've been throwing ideas around.
We should move on. We're actually 40 minutes.
Yeah, I just looked at the time. I was like, oh shit.
That's our first news bit. Let's continue. Anyway, going into actually was the state of the movies that are going on. Star Wars Newsnet did do this, but here we got the movies that are officially still in development at this point. And let's see, Rogue Squadron. Last thing we heard was March 14, 2024. Patty Jenkins was asked to insist she's still in development on it. Lucasfilm will not comment. It did get mentioned in that article yesterday that it is still in development, perhaps without Patty Jenkins, but I still think it is in development.
Okay, give it to Tom Cruise.
Well, yeah, Tom Cruise. Give it to Chris McQuarrie and Tom Cruise.
Okay.
Tom Cruise is your leader. He's not. He's the actor, but he wouldn't be. I wouldn't have him like run the show. It'd be Chris McQuarrie.
Who do you reckon's really writing that story for the third one?
Chris McQuarrie's. I guarantee you, it's Chris McQuarrie. Taika Waititi mentioned in that article, despite everybody had kind of writing it off for various reasons and unfortunate reasons. But last time we heard anything about it was 1 year ago, and Taika Waititi said the script was not finished and get around to working it on full time soon. I think we will hear more about this because Clara and the Sun, I believe, is finishing up. So that's going to go on a press tour. When that happens, I'm sure we'll get the questions and we'll see an update from Taika since Lucasfilm doesn't say shit anymore.
Hasn't he also got one more season of This Flag Means Death to do as well?
I think he's done most of it. I don't know for sure. I
think he's got one more.
He might. So it might be that case. I'm not sure. We have the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy film. Stephen Knight has dropped out. Reportedly, Lucasfilm was searching for a new writer, and apparently one has been found, but nothing's been announced yet. No one has leaked it. Again, I don't know if this happens because I don't know if this is going to get wrapped up into the Kingberg thing. I don't know because I feel like it almost might be the best idea. Because if you're going to launch with Ray again, do we launch with this random one-off by a director who we don't know? Or do we just say, okay, let's put Ray in episode 10 and that should bring back? I don't know if you want to dilute Ray that much. I don't know. I think
you just pivot, keep the same director, but just pivot to an episode 10 to help with the market.
Possibly. Charmin Obaid-Chinoy could do that. I mean, it could be connected. We don't actually know because technically speaking, like I said, it's interesting that like Stephen Knight drops out. They're searching for a new writer. Apparently one's been found. All of a sudden Simon Kinberg is leaked as developing an episode 10, 11, 12, possibly with Ray. Is it all connected? It might be. It could absolutely be. So I don't know. We got Sean Levy's film. Never confirmed by Lucasfilm still, but Levy has stated he's developing it with actors in mind, which is, I guess that is the quote.
Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman.
That is actually the quote that led to Ray being involved potentially, that they were writing it with Daisy Ridley in mind potentially. That was part of the idea behind the rumors, I think. But Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman would be awesome. Hugh Jackman I could absolutely see in Star Wars. Ryan Reynolds would be a tougher sell for me in Star Wars because he's so Ryan Reynolds.
Really? Ryan Reynolds is a droid. You wouldn't like that?
As a droid,
you don't see that.
As a droid, maybe. Like I'm saying, Ryan Reynolds like acting in Star Wars, like being like in front of the camera, like you know what I mean.
Want to? I think he'd want to be like an alien, or because he's kind of the similar kind of guy as like a Zach Braff. Yeah. Like Zach Braff wouldn't want to be like Zach Braff on screen. Right. He'd want to be like an alien or a droid. I think Ryan Reynolds would be like, let me be an alien.
Maybe, but even so, I gotta tell you, Ryan Reynolds is one of those guys who. He is very Ryan Reynolds, and that would take me out. I think his voice would take me out. Like Simon Pegg didn't take me out because he disappeared enough into it, and it was a minor role. You give me a Ryan Reynolds movie because he's not going to take a little role. He would be a main character type of role. And I hear that voice, which is basically, as much as I love Ryan Reynolds, he basically plays Ryan Reynolds every time he does a movie.
It's like The Rock. The Rock only ever plays The Rock.
And I would
John Cena has just shed that.
Right.
Well, he's only just managed to shed that.
I wouldn't want to see John in Star Wars either. That's the kind of thing. So it's the same type of thing.
See what he said about Red One?
He's delusional. He's absolutely delusional. The other part of Sean Levy is that Jonathan Tropper was writing the script with him. So I think that's out there. I think that one happens. I think that one definitely happens because, again, there's that safe part of it. He just made Disney $4 billion with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Money.
That's a lot of money. And he worked well with Disney. So Disney's like, okay, we like him. Let's get this done. So I think that's a movie that's definitely going to be made. Dave Filoni's movie. Haven't heard about it in a while, but no reason to believe it's canceled. No reason to believe it's not going to happen. It's obviously just a long way off. We have Skeleton Crew. We have Mandalorian Grogu. We have Ahsoka Season 2 before it for sure, if not anything else in between. So I just think that's just kind of in the back burner, but it's definitely still in development. We mentioned the Mangold one. Already talked about that. Don't go too far in it. Although, interestingly enough, rumor had this was going to be his next project after the Bob Dylan biopic. Rumors also have this is possibly one that's furthest in development after Mandalorian Grogu, because I have not heard one negative thing about this film as far as like development goes. It's being co-written by Beau Willimon, who is a writer on Andor, and is writing parts of season 2 in Andor as well. James Mangold has the relationship with Disney. I've heard nothing bad. So this actually could be, as much as we're kvetching about it, this actually could be the next one that's in development after Mandalorian Grogu.
And here's the thing, like we know as two people who love cinema, who love film, this formula works. Star Wars plus Ben-Hur epic plus James Mangold plus writer from Andor. It's all there. That we are probably going to love this movie. Yeah. I would bet my house on it. I would bet my house, my car, everything on it. But is it gonna sell?
Yeah, that's
probably not.
That is a good question. A big question. I mean, Mangold has had a lot of successes, so it's a potential to be out there, and he makes good films. He's a very good filmmaker. But
Logan.
Logan's a phenomenal film.
I still cry.
Ford vs. Ferrari. He did a bunch of movies.
Oh shit, he did do Ford vs. Yeah. Get James Mangold to do a fucking pod racing film.
That'd be great. I would love that. But that would definitely be a Disney Plus show. Film. Let's see what else we got. Of course, Lando was announced as a live-action series in 2020. In 2023, Justin Simeon was the showrunner, was no longer attached, and the Glovers were taking over. Later on, Stephen Glover stated it was a movie now. And then just a few weeks ago, we did have Donald Glover acknowledging having creative conversations with his brother about Lando quite often. Kathleen Kennedy has always said along the way that it will happen. It's just up to Donald Glover's schedule. And Donald Glover's quite busy, but he's wrapping things up. He's wrapping things up.
A friend of mine is on tour with him at the moment doing his effects.
There you go. And he's finishing up that tour. And that is something that, so maybe it's something that becomes fast-tracked once the tour is over, possibly. I don't know what to say. Mando and Grogu, we know is coming. That's all. Nothing else to say about that. Filming is commenced and should finish before the end of the year. That's the one movie right now that's definitively happening. And then Simon Kinberg trilogy, which you know nothing about. So that's the movies. That's the movie slate right now. Of course, I left off the Rian Johnson trilogy because despite everybody on both sides saying it can happen, it will happen when everything's all in place. I think they're going to say that until they effing well die. I think Rian Johnson will be 89 years old and be like, yeah, I'm developing it still. Someday I'll do it.
That is what you call protecting relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, 100%. Now, could Rian Johnson return to the Star Wars universe?
Somehow Rian Johnson returned.
It could happen, especially if we had a couple of big hits. Star Wars had a couple of big hits and Rian Johnson's schedule cleared up and Rian Johnson had an idea. I could see it happening. So I'll have to say, I'll see how it goes down. But right now, I am putting that on the way back burner as the least likely of these films to be made.
I'll say it ain't gonna happen.
Okay. I mean, I don't disagree.
You are the very optimistic one when it comes to these. If I am Rian Johnson, on principle, I am saying nope. I don't want to go back there again.
Well, let's be honest. He loved working with Lucasfilm and liked working with Disney, or liked Star Wars itself. It was just a certain fan base that he didn't like. So we'll have to say.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say Rogue Squadron is also obviously a question, but I don't think I'll say this last thing before we go. I think that Patty Jenkins' involvement to me is in question. I think there will be a Rogue Squadron movie at some point, or a Rogue Squadron project, whether it shifts to being a series or shifts to something else. I could see it happening. I just don't know if Patty Jenkins is going to be involved. So.
This is the one where I draw the line. I'm just like, just let it die. just let it die. It's the Ross and Rachel. Will they? Won't they? Just shut up and get it over with. Either way.
I agree. All right, let's move on then. D23 Brazil had some fun stuff going on. We actually got Star Wars doing some stuff exclusively. Of course, some people were upset. I remember reading Reddit and stuff that none of this footage leaked. We had footage, a concept art scene, and new trailers for Skeleton Crew. We have concept art for Andor and some footage from Andor. We had some concept art for Mandalorian and Grogu and some footage as well, including one Garazeb Aurelius in action, supposedly in this footage. So Garazeb Aurelius in Amanda and Grogu for sure. We did know that, but having him be in an action sequence, that makes sense. And I can't wait to see that for sure. That should bump up some Rebels fans' ears for sure. I was not shocked that none of this footage hit because despite Marvel, see, I like the idea what Marvel did. Marvel had teasers or trailers. They put it and then they dropped them right away. None of these are trailers that were actually trailers. So if they were trailers to debut, then I could see them putting it out there. But we're not ready for Andor trailers yet. We're not ready for Mandalorian and Grogu trailers yet. That's just exclusive stuff. And the Skeleton Crew trailer, we just had one drop. And it seemed like this was more of a scene shown, which is cool. I'm glad those people got to see it in person. But I don't know. Were you surprised that all this stuff came out? Because I sure wasn't.
No, I've been to 2 celebrations. Of course I ain't surprised.
There you go. I do hope that changes, though. I do hope that in Celebration we get some. I'm really hoping Celebration we get a big slate and we get footage from everything they have going on right now. That's what I'm hoping for. I'd love to see it. I would love to see Give me an animated series announced and a trailer dropping at the same time. That's what I want to see. But hey, who knows? All right. Anything else about D23? That was really all there was. I don't have anything more specifically about it.
Andor date got announced.
That's true. We mentioned that last week, I believe. But Andor, or did we? I don't know if we did or not. You're right. Let's say it.
No.
Andor, April 22nd.
We got a date. Star Wars Sessions put it out that was the rumored date that was going to get announced a couple of days before D23 Brazil. I want to give those boys their shout. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
You definitely are, because you're going to get to see it with about 100,000 people in celebration.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, that to me, I think that is as much of a lock as you can get, because it comes out like 2 days after celebration, 3 days, like, or whatever.
Do you know why I'm gonna love it so much though? Because it's in Japan, so everyone's gonna shut the fuck up when it's playing.
That's true. That's
because you watch any Japanese audience, movies, sports event, anything, dead quiet.
Yeah, we got a lot of expatriates coming to a lot of tourists coming for celebrations.
Oh god, yeah. I forgot about that. All of you just stay away.
So I have to figure it out if you're going to be back in time. Are you back in time to discuss
Andor? I leave the Monday after, so I should be back in time.
Perfect. All right. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be good news. That's good news for celebration. April 22nd is, I had been hoping it would be before celebration, because then that means we'd have a lot more future stuff being talked about at celebration. This means to me that there's going to be a big Andor panel, a big Andor everything else, and they're going to do everything else, which is fine. But I want to see more stuff that I don't know about at celebration. But that's okay. I understand business wise that makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Next up in the queue here, we got the composer for Skeleton Crew has been announced. It is one Mick Giacchino, son of Michael Giacchino. Best known so far for being Michael's son, but also for being the guy who composed Penguin, which I did not know until I looked into it.
Did you just say he's best known for being Michael Giacchino's son?
Well, I looked up in my IMDb. He hasn't done a whole lot that I had been aware of, to be honest with you. Not
okay,
except for the Penguin.
But it's a completely nepo baby, the guy.
Maybe that probably was a little offensive. I probably should.
It wasn't offensive. I was just like, yeah, dude. But
I don't mean any
Penguin. He did do the Penguin.
I love the Penguin.
Everything about the Penguin is just glorious.
Yes, it was a phenomenal series. Well done. I think the Penguin actually made the Batman even better, to be honest with you. I would go back and watch the Batman now again. So, but yeah, I'm excited about that though, because Mick is actually very excited too. He has some quotes. There was some quotes he made in an interview. Say that for me, Star Wars was always an escape into the fantastical world where I can imagine myself flying an X-wing or riding a Tauntaun around. And especially as a kid, it takes you to all these places we can't go as human beings, but we can be taken there through movies. Initially, my main focus were the kids who are in over their heads and are out in this dangerous galaxy trying to find their way home. That's ultimately the core of this. I find myself sitting in my studio working, and I would just be giggling, watching the scenes, thinking, wow, this is what I loved as a child. So, as we always say, creative artists talking great about upcoming projects, that's just how it is. But sometimes you do feel like the conversation, sometimes it's like, oh, it's perfunctory. It feels like it's like, oh, I'm doing this for business. Yeah, it's great. This feels like he's genuinely excited about it. So, and rightfully so. I mean, his first job in Star Wars, I'm sure he's going to be excited about it.
Guy gets the Disney Star Wars bag and is happy that he got it.
Shocking. But he does seem genuinely like excited with the product. Like that's what I'm talking about as well. He said like he found himself sitting, giggling, watching the scene, saying, wow, this is what I loved as a child. That's, to me, says something good about the product, which I'm happy to hear. So, all right, anything more about Mick, or should we move on?
I think we should move on.
Okay, we got two more things that before we start our main topic an hour in. New footage. We have new footage in Disney Plus trailer. Disney Plus trailer coming in 2025 had a large slate of things. Talked about Andor is in there. We had some other things from Marvel and other shows as well. But of course, we're going to concentrate on Andor, which I'm excited to see. We got a little bit of footage on, not a whole lot. The two main points we saw a K2SO droid, which I assume is K2SO.
Gotta be.
It's gotta be. I don't think they would throw another one out there. You have to see Bix and Andor having some discussions about needing a pilot. Andor looking great in his jacket, walking by, looking pretty steadily in that jacket. The two main bits were Andor and Stellan Skarsgård, or Andor and Luthen's great speech, where Andor starts saying, Stellan claims you're thinking like a thief. Andor responds, I'm thinking like a soldier. And he's like, think like a leader. So it's great. I love those two together. They're both phenomenal actors. So getting more of them together is phenomenal. And finally, the last thing I'll touch on, I'll let you have your say about what you saw. Did we see the Gorman Massacre?
That's what I was going to lead into, because I didn't watch the actual footage in itself, because Andor season 2 is going to be one that I'm going to go into as blind as I possibly can. But I did watch Alex Bateman's video.
Okay. Story explained.
That would be awesome to actually see because we know that Mon Mothma is just as much of a part of this story as Cassian Andor himself.
Yeah.
So to see that part of the story play out, to actually see the moment that Mon Mothma flips the switch and is like, no, that's it. I'm done. I've had enough. I would very much I think it'd be a very harrowing moment on screen. I think that would probably be Tony Gilroy at his best I put a post out that went a little viral actually of like, great, I know when Andor's coming out so I can book my therapist 12 weeks in advance.
Right. I like that. And I think you're right. I really hope it is. I really hope it is. And talking before about Gilroy not being a Star Wars fan, this is where Filoni being in there could help. Perhaps Gilroy had an idea like, well, I want Mon Mothma's story arc to have this kind of breaking point or whatever. Obviously, Mon Mothma is going to. By the time we get to Rogue One, Mon Mothma is leading the rebels at Yavin at that point. So it makes sense that we see her, because beginning of Andor, we see her in the Senate still. So it makes sense that story arc would be her leaving. And we already know that Rebels has featured this. Rebels features the time where she gets on the Ghost and has an announcement about the Gorman Massacre. And she publicly denounces the Emperor and Palpatine. And that's what led to it. So we already have that mark in canon, which I like. And if this shows that and shows that Andor was at the Gorman Massacre, what a great way to connect Andor to the greater overall rebellion storyline, which we have. And
Tony Gilroy has also said that he's been not pushed to, but asked to connect things more in season 2. So
has he been asked to, or has he just done it? I think, maybe he's been asked.
I think he's been asked.
Probably a little bit of both. I think he probably knows he has to connect it. I think his goal was always connected to the movie, because he obviously worked on Rogue One. He's definitely, there's all rumors of how much did he actually help reshape it or whatever. So he wants to connect it to that. And Rogue One had a lot of connections already. So it makes sense that they are leading more towards it. In fact, an article from an Empire, a new one that just dropped, a lot long before we started filming. Diego was quoted saying, we move in space more than ever. The amount of planets and sets you're going to get to see, there are some familiar and some new locations. We have to end up in Yavin, right? So we'll tell the story of Yavin. No one has quite dealt with Yavin the way we will be doing it. So we're getting that connection. We're getting those connectivities at that point. So would I be disappointed if it's not the Gorman Massacre? Honestly, I hate to say it. I would be a little bit. And this is my own fault because I'm building it up. Would I get over it? Yeah, absolutely. It would, because I always take in what's presented to me eventually. I would take in what's presented to me. I'm not going to throw a fit like some people might. But I am kind of hyping myself up that this is the case, and that's what we're saying. So finally, another piece of that article real quick. Ben Mendelsohn had a quote. If they don't see eye to eye, to me, it's cute. Dedra versus Krennic, I think it's a bit of a mismatch. They're all underlings to Krennic. They're all going in one direction. The Empire. If you speak your mind, there are differences of opinion. Ben Mendelsohn basically we're saying we're going to see Krennic versus Dedra. And I'm here for that. Dedra was a great part of the first season. Krennic is a great character played by a phenomenal actor, Ben Mendelsohn. Those two butting heads, I think that's going to make for a fun moments in Andor season 2. So, yeah. Anything else you want to add about this stuff? Footage, the article?
No, I'm good. No, I think I'm ready now. Like I said, Andor season 2, I'm going to go in as blind as I possibly can, like I did with the Acolyte. Right. Just because I have a feeling more is going to pop up than we think.
Yeah, I think so too. Real quick, I will say, as far as the canon goes, John Corman, obviously, Diego also mentioned something to the effect that we're going to see K2SO and Diego meeting and all this stuff. And yes, there is a canon story out there. There was a one-shot comic back in the day where it showed how Diego or how Andor and K2SO met and how that came to be. Is this going to contradict that? Yeah, probably it will. So you might as well get over that. I think you have to get over that to a degree. Somebody said, you said it best. I think you said it and other people said it. Now, the way I look at it, these are all campfire stories. These are all stories of different things, and we get to pick and choose. Like, it's mostly canon. I think they do mostly a good job with canon, but if something does get contradicted every once in a while, it's really not the end of the world.
If I tell you, if I'm having a conversation with someone who has seen Andor, who hasn't seen the comic book, who hasn't read the comic book, and I say, how did K2SO meet Andor? They're going to tell me the way that they saw in the film. That's going to be the most like general consensus is what most people see on the screen, because not a lot of the fans read the comics, but a lot of people who don't are just gonna be like, oh, I saw it in Andor, that's how it happened.
And it's why that, to me, I mentioned this before, it's hard for Disney and Lucasfilm to do, because the visual side of things, the films, the TV shows, those are always going to be the top priorities. Everything afterwards is kind of not filler, but it's more just supportive and more expansionary, and that's fine. Which is why some of the best comic books and everything take place away from it. That's why the High Republic works. That's why Dr. Aphra works. That's why a lot of them work, because they have their that freedom to tell anything they want to tell. If you're telling anything about some of these characters or like something like that, you are risking the fact that we might overrule you on some things. So it is what it is. That's why we had the canon as it used to be, and why the canon's going to eventually get back to there. It was a lofty goal to try to make everything canon and everything connect. That's a lofty goal. And, some people say they should be able to do it, and, fine, maybe whatever you want to say, but it's not something to cry over. That's the way I look at it. So, all right, let's move on. Let's go talk about our main topic. Our main topic now, we're finally getting to it. Hold on. Goonies. We are looking at Goonies as an influence to Skeleton Crew. This was your idea, so tell me about it. Tell me what your pitch was and what you thought we should be doing and how we're going to go about this.
So from the jump, this show, Skeleton Crew, has been dubbed Goonies in Space. And John Watts and all the creators have not shied away from this. They have even come as far as to say, yeah, this is Amblin, this is Goonies, this is E.T., this is Hook, this is Amblin in Star Wars, which, again, we talk about that formula of things that just add up well together. It's perfect. In my opinion, you've got E.T. being canon, the E.T. species being canon. We now know that they are reviving the Ewok movies and bringing those further into canon. But I wanted to take a look at these movies, because this is something that we haven't done, and a lot of people that I've seen covering this haven't done. I would one day love to go into, like, how did Kurosawa influence Star Wars? Like, maybe we could do something like that one day. Because we, as I mentioned, we are movie fans. We do love cinema, and we do love filmmaking overall. So I was like, let's look at the Goonies, the movie we both love, and how can this influence Skeleton Crew? And my first question to you, to kickstart this, we're going to start the way we always start our segments, PLD. Is Hondo going to be the one-eyed Willie of Skeleton Crew?
Oh, that's a great question. We saw his ship in the trailer, or a ship that looks enough like it to be named it. There was some spec. I think Alex actually said that could be at some point. He was mentioning it at some point. Could that be Hondo's treasure trove we see in the trailer? I'm going to say no. We're not going to get Hondo as the one-eyed Willie, but that is not to say he's not in it as something else potentially. Whether that's Troy as the antagonist, or something to that effect, or is he somebody that helps them out, or is he Sloth?
Is he Sloth? Yeah.
Is he the Sloth character that comes and helps save the day at the end, towards the end there?
He does do that. Hondo does do that with the kids.
He has a soft spot for kids. He always has. His ship is named the Katuni after the young Jedi that we had.
Hondo being Sloth is not how I thought. Because, like, you don't see one-eyed Willie. You just, like, hear about him. Has Hondo become just this legendary infamous pirate that we have found the treasure trove of Hondo Ohnaka.
Great Hondo Ohnaka.
Yeah.
I would say yes, that'd be cool. Although I will say it's diminished because I feel like the ship is older than that. It feels like this ship has Old Republic credits on it. I feel like the ship is from before, from a long time ago in a galaxy far away.
Let me put you up on that.
Yeah.
The Old Republic credits thing.
Yep.
Now, is that the Old Republic, or is this that the Republic before the Empire? So
That's
it's
been a
the
discussion.
old version of the Republic.
That's been a discussion. I have the feeling it was supposed to be the old Republic, but I don't know for sure because I don't think they would say. I don't think they would have said Old Republic if it was. I think they would have just said where's your Republic credits from, because it's not old enough to be old. Like it's not like there's a new Republic right now. Well, I mean it kind of is actually. No, you're right. Technically speaking, this is post Empire Fall, so there is like the new Republic.
Currencies do change. We do add new people onto currencies every so often.
Maybe they would call it the Old Republic, but given how Lucasfilm and Disney have come out and said the Old Republic is a time, a frame in the canon, I have a feeling they'd be careful about saying the Old Republic without meaning the Old Republic.
They said the Old Republic. If you go back to the trailer, he just says Old Republic.
Yeah,
he doesn't say the Old Republic. He just said, "Where'd you get Old Republic credits?"
You're not wrong, so I shouldn't actually bank on that for sure. No,
I'm not saying that. I'm not doing this to call you out.
No, I get it. No,
it matches up because then it could be Hondo's.
It could be. I don't think it's Hondo's though, because Hondo at this point Hondo is broke. That's the whole idea. Because Hondo loses his crew and everything else, and unless he lost his yeah, that's why he's got the Ugnaught there. Dude. That's what he's going by. And the Rebels, it's just him and the Ugnaught at this point.
Or can he just not retire? Does he just love the game so much that he's got all this treasure to sit on, but he just loves the game so much that he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna make this difficult for myself. I'm gonna, challenge myself as the Pirate King.
I love your positivity. I think it's more likely that he's in it as something else, but there's a chance. I'm telling you, there's a chance.
I do feel one character comparison that is going to be made. Neil to Chuck.
Chunk, yeah.
Chunk, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that too. The comic relief kind of character in a way.
He's just going to confess everything that he's ever done wrong.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, by the way.
It's so great.
And it helps because you got Joey Pants with Joey Pants, and like the rest of the Fratelli is just like watching him break down and going like, the older brother will like, I started to kind of like this kid.
When he's talking about throwing up on the people in the movie theater.
I threw up and I did this and I pushed my sister down the stairs and I blamed it on the dog and I tell him everything. We're gonna have a scene with Neil doing that, probably.
I think so.
So one thing I want to mention about the Goonies is, since I watched it again, I am hoping. I'm reminded of this. I knew this was a fact and this is the case, but I always get reminded when I watch these things. 80s children's adventures, E.T., Goonies, these things like that. They are not afraid of going a little dark, of getting dark for children. I mean, this is a PG movie, and the guy's hanging himself in the first scene. It ends up he's faking it, but when you walk in, you see the guy hanging from the cell block there. You see dark moments. You see Chunk getting his hand being pushed down into a blender almost at one point. You see dead corpses dropping it down in front of like the kids. There is a lot of dark moments in here that creators used to trust that children would be okay with and be able to take in. Now it feels like in these days, and I'm not saying this is a Star Wars problem, this is more of a just a general problem. They tend to be more sanitized. They tend to be less quote unquote traumatic inducing, as it were. I'm hoping that Skeleton Crew is more of a throwback like they are saying it is. I'm hoping that Skeleton Crew is not afraid to go a little dark at moments, to have those moments of darkness. Do I think it's likely? I would probably bet no. I probably bet we're going to get a safer version of it, but I would love to see him go dark. I would love to see him go dark.
You forget John Watts said this isn't a kid's show. It may star children, but this isn't a kid's show. He has said that a couple of times. So
right.
I don't think we'll see a jailbreak with a dude hanging himself, but I think we'll get like the kids breaking each other out of detention.
Oh yeah.
Something fun like that. What was I did have there was also, you have the whole like not subplot, but like the underlying plot of like the town is going to get bulldozed. So I think that there is going to be like that underlying plot. We talked about a little bit last week of like the dad like realizing what's going on. I feel like there is going to be that bigger in the long term, but like the underlying theme.
Agreed.
Is going to be there.
There's going to be, when I mentioned that in my notes too, I said I think there's going to be something that spurs our dreamer to be dreaming. There's some issue that is causing our dreamer to want to dream and get away from everything. They want to get away from the current situation, and they're going to want to come back eventually. And they're going to come back, and they're going to be like, "Oh, I left this behind, and my problems are still here." There's going to be something to solve that, I think, at the end. Just like they're going to come back with some jewels, and they're going to be able to buy the robots out, and iRobot. I don't know.
I think we're also going to get a Goonies moment of like, they don't get the treasure, but the treasure is the friendships they made along the way. And you speak about like seeing the corpses and everything. They're going to get the skeleton crew name from somewhere, and it's probably going to be from seeing the skeleton of Hondo Anaka. Hopefully,
no, he's alive. He's alive.
He is alive.
He's alive in the sequel trilogy era. He's on Batu and everything else.
This is true. This is true. They are going to see a skeleton.
How dare you? How dare you, Matt? I think you should go in a corner and be very ashamed of yourself.
I am actually in the corner of the room right now, so I'm already here. But I feel like these kids are going to be. This is going to be their version of like forming their own rebellion. Like they're the outcasts. They're the Goonies. Goonies never say die. Like this is going to be their rebellion. What they think is like the grand rebellion of like their lives, but they're going to have to face some harsh truths about what the galaxy is really like. I mean, you've got Wim, who is. I want to know who is like the. Because he's reading all about like One-Eye Willie, but like in this he's reading about the Jedi.
Right.
Is he like gonna read about? And I'm hesitant. I'm really fucking hesitant to put this out here. Does he read about Anakin, the adventures of Anakin Skywalker? Does he read about the adventures of Yoda? And he gets this like delusion of grandeur of what the Jedi used to be. Or maybe Luke. Maybe he reads about Luke.
Probably close to Luke, potentially. But either way, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And then he meets Judd, who, for all we know, could be claiming to be a Jedi.
Right.
And realizes what they really were.
Right.
And what the galaxy is really like for people who aren't like children of people who work for the government.
I do think that's the case. I do think the ending is going to be a happy one. I think that's Star Wars, and I think it'll be hopeful. And I think whatever the underlying thing is, it will be solved at the end. I don't know if it means the robots will go away, or if, and we're speculating on that. The speculation being, of course, that from one moment in the trailer where he's looking over at the robot or the droid who's like overlooking him, it could be nothing to do with that. I have no idea. But whatever it is, there is going to be some kind of underlying thing that gets. I think it does get solved at the end. When I said treasure, it's going to be like the Goonies. I think, if they don't have the whole treasure, but they might have enough to get something done. They might have the marble bag full of jewels, or whatever they have. Again, one of my favorite moments in the whole thing. They have the translation of the Hispanic house cleaner, or whatever.
Rosita.
Rosita, don't sign. No pen.
Let's get into the comedy of it, because those movies back then, comedy was different.
Oh, absolutely.
The jokes about having naked photos of your mom in the bath to get Chunk to go charging at the door to burst the door through, I don't think is gonna fly in 2024 in a Star Wars show.
No.
So I'm curious to see the kind of comedy they they come up with, because we also do live in an age where bullying and cyberbullying is a very big thing. So I'm hesitant to think that they are going to make Neil like this like character that they bully and pick on as much as Chunk got bullied in, justifiably bullied in the Goonies. But
you're here, folks. Matty Gunner, pro bullying.
I'm pro bullying of Chunk every day because it made for the most hilarious moments.
That did.
But I'm also like, how are they gonna handle the comedy of the kids?
I think they can handle it very well. I think there'll be some things that are taboo, but I think you're going to get the similar kind of vibe. You're going to get different character archetypes, and they're going to max up against each other. You saw one in the trailer. The whole idea when Neil gets the opportunity to fly the ship, and it's like, what? Neil?
Yeah.
This kid? Are you kidding me?
Could you imagine Chunk driving the car?
Exactly. No way, shape, or hell. I think that's going to be the main case we're going to go with. They'll do stuff like adventurous kind of humor that way. Probably a little bit of Marvel type humor in a way, some sarcasm kind of thing going on. But I hope they capture the heart of the moment. That's what I care about more than everything else. Because there's scenes in the Goonies which they have, like, the whole thing is adventure, it's fun, it's breakneck speed, and they have those moments where it slows down, like the well sequence where, and he's yelling at Annie, he's like, Goonies never say die. And she's like, I'm not a Goonie. And like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. And they take the moment, and it's like a pause there. They have the moment where, like, Mikey,
when you get out of here, you're going to be taking tests in a whole different school.
Yes, that line hit me hard. It's like, we got to do this and everything else. So there's a lot of that moments that really make you feel something and make you like the characters, alongside certain character quirks. Running gags are things that should be added to these shows. Like, I love the running gag of Mikey saying something wrong, someone correcting him, like, that's what I said, and Data saying the same thing, booby traps, that's what I said. I said booby traps.
Do we think, and I think I know your answer to this one because I'm pretty sure it's a yes. The kid, I forget the kid's name, the kid with the Cyclops-like visor.
Oh, in Skeleton Crew.
In KB. Skeleton Crew. KB. Is that the Skeleton Crew version of Data?
Yes, I actually think there's a 1-to-1 correlation. I think he got Neil, like I said, Neil is Chunk. I think Wim is Mikey. I think Fern is Mouth to a degree.
Yeah,
like the arrogant, cocky.
Who's Brand?
Like Brand. That's the question. Is Jude Law perhaps Brand? Like, if that's where the 1-to-1 stops.
Brand.
Oh, maybe. That's a possibility I didn't think of. I was saying that's probably where the 1-to-1 ended, but Brand would be like, or Jod would be the kind of Brand archetype in terms of, like, he's the older character that, like, has to deal with these young snot-nosed kids. But at the end of the day, he ends up liking them and he tries to help them out. I think that's what's going to happen, I think, in a way too, to a degree. But he'll also be a different a lot of ways too. So, but maybe Smee and Jod are the kind of combo. Combine them and you get Brand pretty much, essentially, if you're going to go that route. But
I wonder if, like, what we've seen so far is them, like, just in that bar area on that planet. I wonder if what kicks it off is they stumble across, like, Thane and these pirates, like, in the act.
Right.
Like, Neil stumbles upon, like, them robbing someone or them killing someone.
Right.
And then that's what sparks off the whole adventure. And then they meet Jod, and Jod is like, oh, I know these guys. Let me take you in, kind of a deal.
That is the key. That's one of the notes I had. Goonies and these kind of movies always have a key to the beginning of the adventure, whatever it is. I mean, in this case, it's partially Wim pushing the button to get them out of there, the spaceship flying off. That's part of the key right there. My guess is, like, I think I guessed this last week, and I'll say it again for those who didn't watch last week's episode, and how dare you. But I will say, I think the idea is they get to this place, they get to this pirate's den, and, like, these pirates are seeing kids there, but they also see that ship there. I'm like, well, what is that? And they see the Old Republic credits, and all of a sudden, there's a legend in mind. They're like, this couldn't be. These kids find this is, oh my God, is this something else? And that's what instigates the pirates to come along and try to, for better or worse, take over. And then Jod is like, well, I can help them take over by being nice. They're all trying to attack them. I'm going to be nice and get my way. And come on, come with me. I got you. That's what it feels like to me, anyway.
Yeah. I agree. I want to bring up one thing that is very important to this that we've already seen one of in the trailer: booby traps.
Booby traps, yes.
There is one. There is one. That's what I said. PLD, that's what I said. There is one that we need to have.
Yes.
This is a moment. If I'm putting it on a bingo card, this is going to be on there. A giant boulder.
Yeah.
Either falling or rolling down something.
I would not be surprised. You get the Indiana Jones reference as well. Absolutely. 100%.
And I think I also know how Teak is going to show up.
Give it to me.
Or Teaks are going to show up.
Yeah.
Remember the scene in the Goonies where they push the boulder and she's like, God put that boulder there for a reason. I don't think you should be moving it.
Right.
What if instead of bats that come flying out, we get a whole load of Teaks? Just a whole bunch of them.
I love it. I love it. So I think we're going to get in Goonies. We had an intro. They kind of introed the characters along overall in a great way. I liked what they did. They had this big action sequence of the car chase, and the car chase just led around town. And we got to see different characters that we're going to get to know being introduced in their way. I think that's a great way to do it. I think it's a typical 80s way to do it. You kind of get the introduction of the characters without having to do a dialogue or anything. Kind of know who we are. All right. So Mouth's this kind of mouthy kid. You get Chunk being absolutely disgusting with the pizza and the milkshake up against the window. You have Andy leading cheerleaders. Yeah, like it all makes
sense. Data with the like the suction thing.
Suction cup thing. Love that so much. I love seeing Ke Kwan in this as well.
I hope he it's a long shot, but I hope he shows up in this.
You know what? That would be kind of fun.
This well, you know what? Be the one, right?
Let's go on to this. I want to say, let's talk about this. References. Do we get like real 80s references in like Star Wars ways? For example, like I loved in Goonies. I totally forgot about this moment when Chunk is on the phone with the sheriff he's telling about the Fratellis, and he's like, "All right," and he actually goes like, "Yeah, just like that tall story you told me about the creatures that multiply when you get water on them," referencing Gremlins. Like, right from the get-go.
You're right.
Same screenwriters and everything else. It makes
sense. And they've gone to Indiana Jones plenty of times. Maybe now is the time we bring E.T. back.
You know, I actually there's a Force Center user who asked that question that's on the Force Center podcast today. So it asked if we're going to see the ETs in this thing because we have the ETs have obviously made their debut. Made their debut in ET, but they made their Star Wars debut in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, as a background character. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an ET species. We're not going to get ET himself. There's no way we get ET himself. But would we get the ET?
Although, do we actually get ET? But like, we're talking about like possibilities of it happening. If you would have if we didn't know Teak was going to be in this, and you came to me and you said, Matty, who do you think's going to show up, Teak or ET? I'm picking ET.
Absolutely, 100%, absolutely. Do we get? You just mentioned Ke Kwan. What a cameo that would be. I mean, Lucasfilm isn't very good at keeping secrets like that, but I can't remember. This is me being very old now. Again, this happened just recently. So, Mandalorian season 3. Did we know Ahmed Best was going to be in it?
No,
we didn't. Right? Okay. So it just kind of happened, right?
Oh my god! What if Josh Brolin shows up?
Is a moment that would Sean Astin could show up.
Corey Feldman.
I don't think you're gonna get Corey Feldman. He's too a little on the outskirts of things these days. Sean Astin though.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Sean Astin? That I could see. That I could absolutely see.
Sean Astin, do it because we got Nick Frost, but Sean Astin doing the voice of a droid or the voice of an alien,
or even just I could see him being the dad type character, not obviously we've seen dad, but someone on maybe the proctor or something at the school or something like that, but maybe Ke Kwan is the one too. I mean, he's worked with Disney already. He's worked in Marvel. He's Loki season 2. He's obviously had a comeback, and he would love it. I think he feels like the kind of guy who would love to do anything. So.
He said in the past, right, that he wants to do a Star Wars project.
He said that. I think he said that at some point. I think everyone said that at some point, probably. But yeah, no, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to have him in there. Absolutely. So, but I do think that's a good key to everything at this point. We could have these references in there, and even if it's not characters or actors, we could get other references here and there. We could get something I don't know, You could get a sloth type character. Obviously, sloth, a monster alien kind of could absolutely fit that role in a way.
They make a joke about one of the pirates being dropped on their head too much.
Absolutely. Rocky Road talks like a baby Rude. There's some kind of obviously Star Wars reference, Star Wars version of that, or whatever. Dank Ferrick.
I think what else they could be, because they've pulled from India a few times now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what other, like, obviously we're focusing. I'm trying to focus on like what references to the Goonies. Good, like, do they call something the Inferno?
Yeah, absolutely could do that. 100% could do that. Could they have a? They already look like they actually have, like, there's the famous story about the octopus in Goonies, which a lot of that got cut out of the actual movie. Yeah. We have that octopus like monster in the trailer that like kind of they get dropped out.
Oh, that's right. I thought that was a snake, but you're right. That does look more like an octopus.
It could be more of an octopus type thing going on. I can see that
would
happening.
Be cool.
Absolutely. I think we have, as it goes, I think the story is actually going to be set up a lot like Goonies in terms of, I think we're going to get an opening, an introduction to our characters. There's going to be some underlying thing going on. There's going to be a key to adventure. Act 2 is going to be them during their adventure, getting closer, especially because of maybe the underlying action and what's going on, meeting adventures, meeting pirates, meeting bad guys. And Act 3 is going to be them at One-Eyed Willie's ship or the treasure trove and them having to win the day and get back home. I think that the overall arc is going to be exactly Goonies-esque, and I think that's for the best. I think it's a proven sold formula. Why not go with it? Big question is the Fratellis versus Vane and crew. Let's see how fun they're going to be. Vane and Urkel, as we got Urkel and the Wolfman and stuff. It's going to be, are they going to be the similar kind of part bumbling? But
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm okay with that. I think they're going to be dangerous enough, but they're going to be like, we call them murderous creatures too. It's almost like when Jabba was saying murderous pirates are coming. The Fratellis are murderous people too. They shot the FBI agent. They kill those people. So it's I think it's be very similar. You're going to see them fighting with each other, and Vane's going to be like, God, stop it.
Vane's the mom, just like slaps them all the time.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what you're going to get for sure. Let's see. One last sequence I definitely want to throw out there about Goonies that I don't know necessarily has to do anything with Star Wars, but the one I always want. If we have a booby trap, can we have the piano sequence?
Dude, yes. Okay, I'm so glad you brought this up. I completely forgot about this. The part where they play One-Eyed Willie's Bones.
Yes.
What would they do for that?
I don't know. Before I bring it to Star Wars, I'll say that was one of my favorite things growing up. I wanted to play that piano so bad. Because I was a piano player, so I was like, give me that piano. Let me play that Bones piano, please. As far as I don't know. Maybe we have some kind of. We don't have a lot of instruments in Star Wars, so to speak. We have obviously the jizz music, of course.
What if it's Max Rebo's Bones? And Neil's just looking at him like, why do I recognize you?
Oh my God, he's not Ortolan, Matt. No, he's not Ortolan. We've already decided this. John Watts said he's not. I know,
but he could still, like, if he's Bones, how is Neil going to know?
I'm just teasing you. Max Rebo's Bones, that would be funny.
Maybe he did get blown up in the sanctuary after all.
Could be. It's like at least 5 years since Return of the Jedi. So, right? Is it 5? Is that what it is, or is it 8 or 9? Mandalorian's 8 and 9 years, isn't it? Actually, I can't remember now.
I think so.
So you're right. Yeah, even more time. Absolutely, even more time. So, here's a question: do we get a Troy? Do we get a bully from the home world? That way they come back to you and like almost like take out.
I think so.
I think so too. I don't know who it's going to be. And they're going to be a short story for him, but I think there's going to be some kind of bully character that bullies either Wim, probably Neil. I
love how we've just all resigned ourselves to like Neil is going to be the kid that gets picked on.
And then at the end of the day, they'll come back and they'll be like cooler and having lived through an adventure, they'll be able to win down that kid and be like, well. By the way, I did like Troy in there, Greg, when he gets hit in the county club or country club thing. Mommy.
Yeah.
You Goonie.
God, what a good movie. Yeah, dude. I just hope I don't want to like put this on the level of the Goonies, because the Goonies is just such a classic.
Yeah, absolutely.
This isn't us being like, oh, we're expecting it to be as good as the Goonies.
No.
Many have tried and many have failed.
Correct. But I think it's a good inspiration, and I think it's a fun inspiration, and I'm glad we're getting this in the Star Wars universe, because Star Wars has always been about hope, and what's more hopeful than a bunch of kids going on an adventure for the first time who want that adventure? Yoda might say Jedi's don't seek adventure, all that stuff, but the kids, they do, and that's what it's there for. So I'd love to see some connectivity there. I'm glad we get I know we're getting some New Republic connectivity with the X-Wings and things like that. I'm hoping we get more. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a fun adventure. And I think Goonies is a great. Watching the Goonies, I think this is going to be more and more like the Goonies than I even thought. I really think this is the archetype. Like, there are other 80s films, E.T., Hook, that we're going to do next week, Hook, Amblin type films, but this feels like this is the real blueprint backbone, especially considering we did hear that, he was John Watts talking to Richard Donner, the great director of it and everything else. So
yeah.
All in all, I love the Goonies. I would give it an A, solid A, 5-star.
What would you? Let's do our ranking. Goonies.
Scale of 1 to 11.
On a scale of 1 to 11.
We always turn things up to 11 here on PLD Projects. It's an 11. Yeah. It's an 11.
Yeah.
It's 11.
100%.
I mean, if someone wanted to go down to a 10.5, fine, I could see that. But otherwise,
no, come on, it's an 11.
All right, that's gonna do it, I think, for us, folks. Unless you have anything else to add.
No, sir.
All right. Next week, Hook. Next week on that, we can do Hook. So where can the folks find you, Matty?
You can find me on all socials, including Blue Sky, which I'm having a great time at. Finally, I know Jay's Scrimshaw over at Force Center has been beating the drum about Blue Sky, and for the longest while, I was like, is it really going to be that good? It actually is pretty great. I love the starter packs, the lists that I can just like, if I don't want a certain type of person, I can just block a whole list of them, and they keep adding to that list.
Yep, absolutely.
Why didn't anyone think of that?
I actually had JP was going to do underlays for us with our new Blue Sky official underlay, but unfortunately, he didn't quite make it this week. There's something wrong with the file. I couldn't quite get it to work. So next time we'll have it probably. Because I am also on Blue Sky, different. Obviously, I'm all Paul Denuzio.bsky.social or whatever it is. It is not quite easier to say. The handles aren't. That's the only negative though, because
that's the thing that they need to sort out. Yeah.
I went to Blue Sky when it first opened about a year ago, whatever it was, 6 months, whatever it was. And it was a ghost town. And I left because kind of like nothing going on. I'm like, all right, whatever.
15 million this week.
People are there now. And I didn't realize how bad Twitter had gotten. Like, everybody was telling me how bad Twitter was and everything else. And I'm like, I knew it. But like, I didn't realize how much until I went to Blue Sky and was like, wow, this is a breath of fresh air. This is a true haven. So this is why you'll not see me or PLD Projects on Twitter anymore, or Matty. I'm not going to be one of the people who like delete their account or delete all their posts. Or
I don't want anyone pretending to be us. If you leave your account deactivated for more than 30 days, someone could take over your handle. So yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm never going to post on Twitter again, because I haven't deleted it like some people have. I know some people delete off their phones or anything else. I do go there sometimes for like news, like entertainment news, like all the entertainment things I follow that haven't quite made it over to Blue Sky yet. So I still will go there, and I replied to like Molly Damon. I think I'll reply every once in a while, maybe, but I don't see myself posting there. I'm not going to advertise there anymore because I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Blue Sky is my new real home. So I'd love to if you guys join us there.
It really is great, and especially because like the algorithm is like stuff that you follow. It's not like
there is no algorithm. It's like it's definitely what you follow. It's the feeds that you create, and it's wonderful that way.
I'm just waiting for the prodigal son to return. He hasn't posted on Blue Sky in 11 months. But when he returns,
he'll be back. He'll be back.
I
have not started a PLD Projects Blue Sky yet. I don't know if I will. I might just keep it as, because I don't have enough followers of my own, let alone having a PLD Products one yet. So I might just post it on mine for now. And who knows, if it gets bigger enough, maybe I will. But until then, this is us being a once a week podcast for Star Wars. Please get the word out. Next week we're doing Hook, like I said. Also got a lot of stuff going on the channel. PJ and I doing 2 Meter for Weight Dudes on film. We just aired Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. 2 weeks from now we'll do Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, which is maybe my favorite in the saga.
It's my favorite.
It's definitely up there for sure. It might be the last crusade of the saga for me. Doing V review with Lego, doing that still every other week as well. And the Crown Jewels podcast, I'm delving deep into the Queen 1 box set as that just came out a week ago or so now, a week or two ago now. A lot of cool stuff there as well. I think that's it. So we will see you guys next week. Hopefully. Hopefully you love us like you say you do. And until then, as always, we will say,
may the Force be with you, always.